everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. Betty and I are here today, and we're going to take you to Eastern Europe. In fact, we're going to Poland. We're going to go to the beautiful city of Krakow, which I think is probably one of the prettiest cities of Poland. Don't you think so, Betty?
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm so impressed with Poland and Polish people. They have
so
found
you're not, and Betty said she's not going to tell any more Polish jokes,
No,
right?
they found a real friend in me. Man, I admire those people.
Well, and one of the things that you're going to see today is right here. We're in the old city of Krakow, and we're going to go up and visit the castle up here. Or I guess I should say there is a castle, and of course there's a cathedral up here.
A fortress, is that a fortress also? Because it sits up so high, it must be.
Yeah, well, it was. You know, as a medieval city, it was really quite something. So let's listen to our guide as she takes us through this magnificent complex.
The official the name is Wawel. So, and on the Wawel here we have two important buildings. This, which is on the left side, as a royal castle. It was built in the 16th century, and the king is waiting for us inside. And in front of you, there's a royal church, the royal cathedral, the place where Polish kings were crowned and they are buried. But not only our kings, our bishops, and and our national heroes. Maybe you heard about some of them. Is anybody from the United States?
Yes. Anybody not from the United States? Yes.
Don't belong here. Probably you heard about Kościuszko, but you pronounce his name quite different. Kościuszko, he is Polish and American hero. At first he fought for the independence of the United States in the American Revolution. He was a designer of West Point. Yes, probably. Yes, he was a very good engineer. And then, after American Revolution, he came back to Poland, and he came to Krakow, and he organized a national uprising against Russia. So, and he is buried in underground part of our cathedral. So, and this church, it belonged to our Pope, John Paul II. He was bishop of this cathedral. So, and this is a wall in front of you is decorated with small slabs, yes, with different names of these people who donated money for the renovation of our castle, which is still on the left side, after the First World War. Why? Because till the 20th century, in the 19th century, and till the beginning of the 20th century, the castle was used by Austrian soldiers. Therefore, it was a little demolished. Why they use it, I will tell you a little later. But look on the left side, it's beautiful decoration. And in front of us, on the left side of the entrance, there's a statue, the monument to Kościuszko, a Polish and American hero.
Well, this is really quite something, I'll tell you. I really enjoyed this building. I thought, well, I should say more than just a building. It's, of course, this whole complex. You know, it's really nice because you're just like stepping right back in time into the medieval times to see this. And Betty, they have kept this in such great shape.
Well,
this
of
is
course,
the thing.
so much has been done over, too. You know, the reconstruction took place in lots of this area here, didn't it, Marv?
Well, I think some of it, yeah. Because as we get a little bit later on in the show, we'll see as we get down the street off the hill, as some of the buildings have are in need of repair, you know. Yeah. But yeah, they have kept this up good. And I think those people that contributed to this, they had their names, of course, on those plaques outside on that outside wall. But the architecture is just really something.
I think that this is the way I think about travel, or I always did think of traveling this way, going into these little places. Well, this isn't so little, but old and cobblestone streets and ivy on the walls and I don't know what else. Just like it was. You know, I hate to see the change. But on the other hand, wouldn't it be terrible if there wasn't a change? You know, that's life.
Well, it's true. But by the same token, you know, you look in our civilization here, and we're not saving some of these beautiful old buildings. I mean, couldn't even save the courthouse in downtown Fresno.
Came to mind, too, when you said that. You know, that beautiful, beautiful building.
I know. So, I don't know.
The road is large, the ground is smaller, and it belonged to the dragon. If you believe, if not, it was a mammoth. but I said the dragon is better. So, and in this case, the Polish kings were crowned. As you remember, they are buried, and the first saint of Poland is buried inside. Maybe you heard about Saint Stanislas, who was Bishop of Krakow in the 11th century, and he was canonized in the 13th century, and he is buried inside of this church. So let's go. So, this is the lower part. The lower part. The lower part of this tower is from the 11th century, but the main part is from the 14th century. So, and the cathedral is surrounded by small chapels which were built in different periods by different Polish kings. For example, this one with yellow dome, it was built in the 16th century, and yellow color, there's a copper, which was covered with gold. Tradition says that it was 40 kilo of gold, maybe. Because it was in the 16th century. In that time, Poland was the largest country in Europe, from the Baltic to the Black Sea. Because Poland was united with Lithuania. In the 14th century, Polish queen married a Lithuanian duke, and Lithuania was united with Poland. So, and just before later, it was the largest country, maybe one of the richest, and maybe 40 kilo of gold. we say. So,
You know, I didn't realize that the history of Poland was extensive as she was telling us, that it was at one point in time the largest country in Europe, and its borders stretched so far. So it's really something. And then, of course, you look at all of the wars and the things that have gone on over the periods of time, and you see how a lot of countries in Europe have shrunk. Some have ceased to exist. Others have emerged with brand new names, and some of them have reverted to names that they had many, many years ago. So, yes, it's kind of difficult to try and keep on the history. And even as we're listening to our guide, and she's a tremendous guide too, you get so much information there. You're talking about 13th century, 12th century, 14th century, and
you
trying to put it together something else.
Yeah, but you almost have to be a history buff. You don't. You can listen to her and be impressed by the dates and all of that, but that isn't something that stays with you. It's, at least with me, it's for the moment that you relive the history, and then you go on from there. Because we are not on a historical, what do I say, educational tour.
Well, I don't know.
We are educated with it,
but
it isn't like you're going to come back and be tested over it. Now, what year did such? Well, I'm
that
used
what you're
to that
afraid
as a
of?
teacher, and I don't want to have to take the test,
Yeah.
But
Don't give me the test. I know I'm going to flunk.
Well, I know if I ask you something and you say, "I'll bet I don't know," I mean, you really know and absorb it at the time, but you watch. Everybody takes little notes as they go along, and I've often wondered what happens to those notes when you get home, if they are ever transcribed and used and put. Probably so. If you're that interested, I remember Mary Ann just was writing furiously every place we went. So, and she's a teacher, so she probably will make use of that.
Right.
But
yeah.
I admire these people. I just listen.
Well, yeah, I do too, and that's the great thing, advantage of videotaping a lot of this, is that you can relive it over and over again just by watching the tapes, and it's a very good educational process as well.
Yeah. Now look at the dragon.
Yeah. Now watch real carefully, because that dragon's got bad breath.
See the fire-eating dragon.
Oh, or fire-spitting dragon, I'll tell you. Anyway, the dragon seemed to be the symbol of the city of Krakow, and there was, I guess, a lot of stories that were attributed to the dragon, as probably a lot of mythology. But Betty, I have to say again that this whole complex on top of the hill here, with the church and also these other buildings, and then of course the palace, which we're going into in just a little bit, was most impressive, just most impressive. And the thing was, our hotel was across the river and a little ways from here, but yet you could see this at night. It was illuminated so beautifully, and actually, when we had breakfast in the morning, we were out looking across the river and seeing this fabulous complex. Isn't it beautiful? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a little better than Disneyland, I think.
I think it's a little even more impressive when you think of the Holy Father being there,
Yeah.
and because then you sort of relate to him too. And
well, of course, when he was Archbishop here, and then of course Cardinal as well, he probably spent quite a bit of time in this particular area here. And it's beautiful, as you can see. This, of course, we were there in summertime, and the flowers were out. They were just absolutely beautiful. And these grounds are kept up so magnificently.
I don't think we could have asked for better weather than what we had. Well, we showed you some rain along the way. Basically, everything went so well. The weather, the shirt sleeve weather.
We've always been fortunate with our trips. I mean, we've always been very, very fortunate in that we've had such, really tremendous weather. The only time we had some rain, I think, was when we were up in Berlin, at the start of this trip. But
well, God smiles on us.
I think so, and certainly made it very enjoyable. Like you say, it was just shirt sleeve weather, so it was very nice. But again, look at this architecture here, and you can see it's just really magnificent. And of course, as she was explaining to us too, you have a couple of different centuries here of architecture that was done on this particular cathedral here, and it's just really, really quite beautiful. And as she mentioned too, that some of that was covered in gold. But Betty, we're going to take a look inside now the cathedral here. It's a little dark in here, so I have to apologize for that too, because things were not too well illuminated inside. But you can take a look and see here just exactly what the inside looked like. It wasn't a huge cathedral by any means, but I mean, it was large enough. And there are sure a lot of folks that are buried in here as well.
Yeah. This makes me laugh a little bit, because one of our favorite expressions is ABC, depending on where you are, either another bloody cathedral or another bloody castle. That's a tourist expression.
Yeah. And you can see that there is somebody here that's buried right behind the altar. It looks like probably one of the
Somebody
archbishops.
did.
Yeah, somebody did. That's for sure.
So we know that.
But and there were some famous folks that were put to rest here in this cathedral, and it was really very nice to visit. I just wish again that it had been a little bit lighter in here, so we could have gotten some better pictures.
I think that through the eyes of the camera, we see a lot more than just with the naked eye standing there, because you pinpoint different areas, which, I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I just think you're a good photographer. You see, I have to stay on your good side.
So you'll make sure that I'll get your good side, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Amen. Amen.
Well, again, I must say that the architecture on the outside and the inside of this cathedral was really quite magnificent. And it's so nice to see that they have kept it in very, very good condition. Don't you think so, Betty?
Oh, yeah. I wonder about where all of the marble, we must have been told this, but I don't remember. But the artisans too, who did this magnificent carving and the woodwork, was this done with a gill type thing? You look around and you see the artistry everywhere you look. You see something different and something beautiful.
Well, you have to imagine, too, that back in the time when this was built, you mentioned the guilds, yes, those were very prevalent during those times, and people apprenticed as they became members of the guild, and were apprentices before they became masters at carving and the work that they're doing. And you can see, it is masterful.
Very individual.
It's just beautiful.
And I presume the prestige and the honor was more than the value that they were paid, the monetary part of it for the artisan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's something that is going to stand, the test of time too. So it's wonderful. Well, now we have moved inside the courtyard of the palace, and unfortunately, we did go through the palace and the inside, but unfortunately, I was not able to take the camera inside.
That was a no-no.
There were some beautiful tapestries in there.
So, king lived at the first floor, but queen lived over there. You see the beautiful window. It was nice decoration with Polish eagle, Polish emblem. This part was used by Polish queen. And the green building in front of us, it's new, but inside were royal kitchens, not one, but kitchens. So one for queen, second for king, and especially in the 16th century it was important because in that time Polish king married Italian princess. This royal castle, it was built in the 16th century, but Polish kings lived here before. The first castle was like this building inside. It was damaged during invasions. Second was built behind you, but it was damaged by the fire. Just before this one was constructed in the 16th century, and our castle was built by two Italian architects. Why Italian? Because they were the best in the 16th century. Just before Polish king invited them to Krakow and paid a lot of money. So, and the castle was decorated by Polish people. Look over there. Do you see above, at the second floor, there's a painting, yes? Do you see? The fresco frieze, which is original from the 16th century, made by Polish artists. We know his name, we know how much the king paid for this decoration. But this is the next part is without, because the next part of our castle was damaged by the next fire. It was in the second half of the 16th century, and after this fire, our king went to Warsaw. The fire, it was pretext for him, because he wanted to be closer to Sweden. Why? Because he was, in one time, he was Polish and Swedish ruler, Swedish king. I know that you visited Warsaw, yes? And probably you saw his statue in front of Royal Castle. There's a big column. Yes? And at the top was the monument to him. In Warsaw, he is so tall person. In Krakow, it's small. And 3 years ago, we celebrated anniversary of this fact that the capital was moved to Warsaw, and we in Krakow, we celebrated it. And at the market square, we built a small statue to him. But the column was only 1 meter. It's more important in Warsaw. So and now in the castle there's a museum. At the ground floor was used by royal servants. First floor, it was private, only for Polish kings. And the second, it was for official guests, like we. Just I hope that king is waiting over there. So let's go close here.
Well, golly, I didn't see the king. I certainly hope that he's still not waiting for us to show up. But, well, maybe he is. I don't know. Betty, I didn't see you dancing. Didn't that music turn you on?
No, it did turn me on. You're not kidding, but it would have been very difficult out there in the middle of that street, wouldn't it? But wasn't that a romantic place, though?
It
you
was.
Look at the horse-drawn carriage and the cobblestones.
Very, very nice.
It means Cannon Street. Cannon, not a gun. Cannons because of priests. There's a kind of priest, and they worked for the cathedral, and they lived at the foot of the Wawel Hill. But not only canons live here. Bishops, cardinals live here, and you know one of them, Karol Wojtyła. Yes, he lived in this building, which is nice decorated at the first floor, white and black colors. At the first floor was private flat of Bishop Wojtyła.
Oh, how nice.
As a bishop, he lived over there.
Well, this is quite a street of contrast because we see some of the buildings that have been kept up, and then there's a few other buildings on this street that look like they're in sad need of repair. But anyway, we are going to go over and take a look inside the courtyard, and this, of course, is where Pope John Paul studied and lived, right?
Yeah, and this is a wonderful place, it looks like to me anyway, to be able to live there and study the quiet, the fountain, the whole schmear. Man, it's good. That's living.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
That's right. After all, he was in the position to have that
That's
happen.
right. Yeah, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the universities and the academies here in Krakow. But this was really a very, very nice looking place. Yeah,
I'm
I think
surprised that here in California we don't do more of that type of architecture where you have the patio inside and then the wall on the front, because it's conducive to privacy and yet you get all the sunlight and the flowers and everything else that you want. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. See, there's some buildings here that do need to be restored a little bit, and I imagine some of these other ones probably look like that too, maybe in the past. But there's an example here, two of them right across from one another. So imagine if you lived upstairs here and you opened up your window and looked outside, you didn't see anything that looked too terribly pretty. But I would imagine though in time that those will probably also be restored, the outside of the building, and it will be quite nice. We're heading now over to the one of the academies and also to the market square. here in Krakow. And Krakow only has about 800,000 population, which surprised me. I thought it was probably a little bit larger than that. And I don't know why I figured that. Maybe it's because of all the beautiful buildings and the castle, of course, and everything like that. You seem to think that, gee, maybe there's a couple of million people here, but there probably is during the summertime when the tourists
I'm
come.
sure there is. But, it looked like everything was pretty well concentrated within the area where we were. So that probably gave you that impression, too. Frankly, I never even thought about it. I was just always glad there aren't a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Eastern Europe, though, is becoming more and more popular, and there are more and more tourists that are going now into Eastern Europe, and I'm certainly glad that we made this trip because it was just really super. Well, Betty, there's your romantic carriage, and you notice, of course, it had tourists in it, and somebody with a video camera.
Well, of course. I've only once in all of our travels ever taken a ride on the carriage.
Where was that?
And it was fun. I don't remember. But
Did you do that in Salzburg?
No, I didn't do it in Salzburg. It was one of the other trips, and you lost one of the tapes on that trip. And I think that was the one that I was on.
I'll tell you where that was. That was in Luxor in Egypt.
Was that?
Yeah,
okay, well, that's where it was. And I enjoyed it. But, I am kind of cheap. And if you do it once, it's okay. You get the thrill of it. But not just to clop, clop, clop along, But I love watching other people.
Oh, yeah.
I get as much enjoyment.
It's great because they're having a wonderful time with that. They were also having a festival here in Krakow as we were visiting, and this is part of the market square there. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, there's some gorgeous buildings, and we're going to hear a guy play a trumpet up here after a while, and that was one of the big tourist things.
That was the dumbest thing.
Well, we'll see that after a bit.
First seat for the university was on the Babel Hill in the Royal Castle, and later this building was constructed thanks to Queen Jadwiga. I mentioned about her, Saint Jadwiga, and she's a patron of our university. Why? Because she donated her jewelry for the university. Thanks to her money, this building was constructed in the 15th century. And now there's a university museum, and it's still used by our professors, for example, for Senate debates. Look over there, there's a green door. Yes? There's an entrance to previous library.
Well, Betty, for a building that was built in the 15th century, I think this has really kept its shape pretty well. Don't you think so?
Yes, sir. I sure do.
It is really beautiful.
And it's beautiful. I love the arches.
Yeah.
Makes me think of McDonald's.
It would be it'd be a great place to study, I guess, if you were a student. It's very conducive to study, I think.
Of these which were used by Nicholas Copernicus. And the second good student who studied here was John Paul II. Not in this building, but in this university. But as you remember, he was a secret student during the Second World War. He studied here. So, and above the entrance, look over above the entrance, there's a coat of arms of this university, 2 cross scepters, and the crown at the top, because there's a royal university, not church, but royal state university. So, and one of the scepters was donated by Queen Jadwiga, and it's still the scepter is still in the university treasury, and is still used by the rector of our university. It was made of silver and painted with gold. So, and the coat of arms, which is over there, probably you recognize the John Paul II, his coat of arms. So, and in Krakow, we have 1 university and 11 schools like this, which we call academies, like Academy of Mining and Metallurgy, Theater Academy, Economy Academy, and so on. Together 11 like this, and only 1 university. But together we have 120,000 students. The population of Krakow is 800,000. So just as I said that Krakow is a very young city. Buildings are very old, but people are very young. So, and look over on the roof, there are a lot of chimneys, yes? And one is twisted. And we call it Monday chimney. Why do you think why Monday chimney? After weekend, people are a little tired. Just therefore they have problem with heads. Just therefore it's a little twisted. In the center of Krakow, the market square, there's a center of our town, and it was the center in Krakow. In the 13th century, it was arranged. Each side of the square is about 200 meters. In front of it is one part of the square. On the left side, behind this building, there's a similar part. That's is the largest market square in Europe from the 13th century. And in the middle of the square, there's a building, yellow in color, which is a special name in Polish, sukiennice. It means cloth hall. Cloth hall, special building for selling and buying cloth. And now inside there are shops with souvenirs, which you will visit later.
Okay, Betty, now you've got to listen very carefully because your trumpeter is going to appear at the window and give you a little serenade. Well, Betty, did you think that was worth waiting for?
Can you believe people stood there for 1/2 hour to see that? Well, we've seen it in Germany where it really is something, but I really think that's fooling the people. Really.
Well, I don't know. Evidently, it's a tradition that people wait for. That we stood there and I thought, what's going on here? And all these people had their cameras pointed up there.
I was so excited.
And I didn't know exactly what to expect. And then you hear this faint little, and then all of a sudden you see this guy waving from the window, and then the bells are ringing a little bit. And I thought the same thing too. I thought, we stood here for this?
How dumb!
I want to go get an ice cream cone.
Yeah. Well, it was.
Well,
really
I guess when you're in Krakow at the market square
That's
at
right.
12 o'clock noon,
Well, you do as the Krakonians do.
Yeah, I guess that's what you do. Sound a little cracked up to me, but anyway.
Now wait a minute, you're stealing my stuff. Cut that out.
But anyway, this is a shot here of the market square, and it really was a beautiful place. And in fact, we paused here for lunch as well. Betty, you went inside the church, didn't you? There?
Oh yeah, I went in and oh gosh, I never miss a church if I can help it. But I do love to go into them. They're all unique.
I had lunch right here at this place. Wasn't it beautiful?
Yeah, I
Look
came
at the
over
flowers.
and took a little taste of your sandwich. I believe it was your sandwich and soup or something like that.
Soup and sandwich, right?
And I went over
Very good.
looking at the pictures. I bought some pictures here.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, from the street artists.
Oh,
yeah.
it's nice. Well, it is a very picturesque place. Even with or without the trumpeter, it really didn't make any difference. But it was a beautiful day that we were there too, nice and warm, and you can see the clouds in the sky. Just made it a very, very beautiful day.
And one thing, Marv, about our guide, she was so joyous in
Wasn't
her
she
presentation.
though? She was great. Yeah, and we're very fortunate. We've had great guides all along. And if you're interested in any of our trips coming up, give Betty a call at
488-7443.
and she'd be happy to give you information. That's about all the time we have. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.